Welcome to Focus on the Family's practical tips for porn-free living. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the importance of understanding and responding to things that trigger your pornography use. One of the big mistakes that people can make when battling porn is to view their pornography use as something disconnected from the reality of how they live the rest of their lives. But as we've already said in a previous episode, pornography use never happens in isolation. There are almost always other factors involved that lead up to it. These other factors are what we mean by triggers, because they are the things that trigger you to want to look at pornography. This means that if you want to be effective at fighting back against porn, you don't just focus on avoiding pornographic content, but also on finding effective ways to respond to the triggers that cause you to want to view the porn in the first place. Every person is different, and there are lots of different triggers, but some of the more common ones include stress, tiredness or boredom, past hurts or abuse, going to certain places or watching certain types of entertainment, feelings of personal inadequacy or powerlessness, prolonged periods of internet and social media usage, relationship stresses or fights, and lastly, the issue of association, which is where your brain sees pornography as a reward or as a form of celebration or standard leisure time activity because of the way that you have consistently used it in the past. The first step to dealing with your triggers is to stop and figure out exactly what they are. Do this by examining your pornography habits and looking for consistent patterns or events that keep occurring in your life in the lead up to using pornography. And don't be afraid to take the time and really examine this question very deeply. For example, an initial survey of your porn habits might lead you to conclude that fighting with your wife is one of your triggers, but upon deeper reflection, you realise that it is specifically fights about finances, which leave you feeling like a failure as a husband, and therefore it is the feelings of inadequacy and not merely disagreeing with your wife that is the actual trigger for your porn use. Once you have identified your triggers, and remember, for most people there is more than one and they can change over time as well, you need to formulate strategies for addressing the triggers. Different triggers will require different strategies. For example, if workplace stress is a trigger for you, you could put things in place to alleviate that stress, like arriving 20 minutes earlier to work each day or hiring another staff member. Or maybe you could adopt techniques for responding to that stress when it does arise, like having a workout or stopping for 20 minutes of reading and reflection somewhere peaceful on the way home after a stressful day. However, if your trigger is a past memory of serious abuse, then exercise or changing your daily schedule is simply not going to cut it, and you will definitely need to seek out professional counselling to help you address that particular trigger. The good news is that by identifying and putting strategies in place to respond to your triggers, you are giving yourself the opportunity to deal with porn before the urge to start viewing it arises or becomes too overwhelming to resist. You are also getting to the root of the problem by teaching your brain to respond to those triggers by doing something other than looking at pornography. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Focus on the Family's practical tips for porn-free living.